The awakening of the inner abyss, how darkness prepares your soul for power. Have you ever noticed a strange shift in your energy, like the world around you hasn't changed, but something within you has cracked open? You're not crazy. You're not broken. What you're experiencing is the rising of your dark powers. And no, I don't mean evil in the Hollywood sense. I mean the primal, raw, unapologetic force that exists in every soul. The ancients called it the shadow self. It's the part of us buried underneath the masks, the one we've been taught to fear, hide, or suppress. But when it starts to rise, it doesn't ask for permission. It erupts, and it begins with shadow patterns, 7 of them, each like a lock being undone on a gate you didn't even know you were guarding. And when those gates open, you do not become less holy, you become more whole. Because your soul was never meant to be light alone. I've walked this path. I've seen the first pattern, the pattern of inner conflict. You start feeling like 2 people in one body. One part of you wants peace, love, and harmony. But the other part, it doesn't care. It wants truth. It wants to scream. It wants to tear down the illusions. You might find yourself sabotaging your own success, rejecting comfort, or pulling away from people who once made you feel safe. And here's the twist: that sabotage is sacred. It's not destruction for the sake of chaos. It's your inner dark power rejecting what no longer fits. You've outgrown the skin you're in. Can you feel that? That pressure in your chest? That's not anxiety. That's your soul expanding beyond the cage of conformity. The question is, will you let it stretch, or will you shrink back into the illusion? The second pattern is emotional volatility. You cry for no reason. You rage at the smallest things. You feel numb and then feel everything all at once. You begin to wonder, am I losing control? But the deeper truth is, you're finally feeling. Most people don't feel. They distract, deny, suppress. But when dark power rises, it demands presence. Emotions are the language of the soul. And when they come crashing in like a tidal wave, it's not weakness. It's energy being released. You're detoxing centuries of inherited pain, lifetimes of silence, years of pretending to be fine. And I ask you this, what if your rage is holy? What if your tears are sacred rivers cleansing your soul? Are you brave enough to let yourself break, not because you're weak, but because you're becoming something unbreakable? Then comes the third shadow pattern, radical honesty. And this one is brutal. You'll start seeing through people, through systems, through yourself. You'll notice the lies you've told to stay safe, the way you perform happiness, the way you say yes when your whole body screams no. And suddenly, the truth becomes unbearable to ignore. You'll feel disgusted by fake smiles and small talk. You'll crave depth, intensity, and silence. You'll walk into a room and feel who's wearing a mask. And here's the thing, once you see lies, you can't unsee them. So you'll either become a warrior for truth, or you'll try to go back to sleep. But the soul, once awakened, cannot be put back to sleep. So I ask you now, what truth are you still afraid to say out loud? And what would happen if you did? You see, these patterns are not curses. They're signs, markers, symbols etched into the soul that say you are no longer asleep. When your dark powers begin to rise, They don't show up as lightning in the sky. They show up as discomfort, disillusionment, and deep inner shifts. And the world around you may not understand. That's okay. They're not supposed to. You're not here to be understood, you're here to be transformed. The fourth pattern will make that even more clear. It is isolation. Suddenly you feel alone in rooms full of people. Relationships fall away. You spend more time in silence than in conversation. It's not that you hate people, it's that your frequency has changed. And people who resonated with the old version of you can't find you anymore. You've become invisible to the matrix that once held you. This is not loneliness. This is the solitude of the soul before the metamorphosis. The caterpillar dies alone in the cocoon. But if it tried to cling to the other caterpillars, it would never fly. Are you willing to be alone long enough to be reborn? And I want to be real with you, this path isn't easy, but it's sacred. The fifth pattern is obsession with the unseen. You'll find yourself drawn to ancient texts, symbols, mystery schools, the occult, dreams, and synchronicities. You'll feel like the universe is speaking to you in riddles. Numbers repeat. Animals appear in strange ways. You'll wake up at 3:33 and not know why. This is not coincidence. This is initiation. Your deeper senses are activating. The veil is thinning. You're starting to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. And yes, it can feel like madness. But it's a sacred madness, the kind that shamans went through before they became healers. The kind that mystics endured before they became teachers. Don't run from it. Study it. Feel it. Let it guide you. What signs have been following you lately? What if they're not random? The sixth shadow pattern is creative chaos. Your life may start falling apart. Jobs end. Friendships dissolve. Your identity begins to unravel. Even your physical body may react: sleepless nights, strange dreams, energy surges. This is not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. You are being reborn through destruction. Shiva, the destroyer, dances within you, and creation always follows chaos. You may suddenly feel the urge to write, paint, sing, dance, scream. Do it. This is your soul giving birth to itself. Don't worry about the outcome. The process is the point. You are not here to be neat. You are here to be real. And realness is messy. Can you allow your life to fall apart, trusting that what remains is what was always meant to stay? And finally, the seventh pattern, the most terrifying and liberating of all: sovereign rebellion. You stop seeking permission. You stop asking the world who you're allowed to be. You stop compromising your truth to be liked. And you begin to walk your path, even if no one claps, even if everyone leaves, even if the world calls you mad. This is when your true power awakens. Because the soul cannot be fully alive while enslaved to external validation. You begin to serve the divine within you. Your own inner fire becomes your compass. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never betray yourself again. So I ask you now, from the depths of your rising soul, what would your life look like if you stopped apologizing for your power? This is only the beginning. These 7 shadow patterns are not signs of failure. They are the birth pangs of your becoming. And as you walk through them, You are not descending into darkness. You are reclaiming the parts of you that were lost, buried, and silenced. You are becoming whole. You are becoming you. And in that there is no greater light. The sacred fire within, how dark power awakens divine purpose. When the shadow begins to rise, something ancient stirs inside of you. It isn't just emotion. It isn't just confusion. It's a memory, a soul memory, a knowing that you've walked this path before. That the fire now burning inside your chest isn't new, it's been waiting, dormant, for lifetimes. And now, as the 7 patterns unfold, the sacred fire is awakening. It's not destructive in the way we've been taught to fear. It's alchemical. It burns away the false, so the truth can rise like gold from the ashes. This is where the journey deepens. Because once you've recognized the patterns, you're faced with the greater question, what now? What do you do with this dark power? Do you suppress it again and try to fit back into the old shell? Or do you let it shape you into something divine? Something untamed, something eternal? That's where purpose comes in, but not the kind of purpose they sell you in self-help books. Not the follow your passion and make 6 figures kind. I'm talking about soul purpose, the purpose that scares you, the purpose that wrecks your identity, the purpose that haunts your dreams even as it calls you forward. You see, dark power doesn't just rise randomly. It rises when your soul is ready to fulfill a sacred contract. And the patterns you've been experiencing, they're not symptoms of instability. They're initiations. Each one is a test, a gate, a challenge from the divine asking, are you ready to remember why you came here? Because if you are, everything will change. You won't be able to lie to yourself anymore. You won't be able to live small, because the fire demands expression. It demands embodiment. And anything less than truth will start to hurt you like poison. So how do you find that purpose? You don't. You remember it. You feel it. It's not in your thoughts, it's in your bones. It's in the things that break your heart open. It's in the pain you've survived and the patterns you've repeated. It's in the dreams you've buried under practicality. You'll know you're close to it when it terrifies you and liberates you at the same time. That's how real purpose feels, like a dragon inside your chest that you can't cage anymore. And the dark power rising within you? It's not an enemy. It's the key. It's the fuel. It's the sacred chaos that strips away the noise so you can finally hear your soul. Have you noticed that your deepest wounds are connected to your deepest gifts? That what almost destroyed you also gave you your voice, your vision, your depth. That's not accidental. That's design. You were broken for a reason, and that reason is your medicine. Will you rise and offer it? But here's the paradox. To fully claim your purpose, you must embrace your darkness. Not just tolerate it, not just manage it, honor it. Because your shadow holds the very parts of you that your purpose requires. Your rage holds your voice. Your fear holds your courage. Your shame holds your empathy. Your jealousy holds your hunger for expression. All of it is holy. All of it is needed. And if you try to be only light, you will be half alive. That's why the old systems are crumbling. That's why your relationships are shifting. That's why you feel like you don't belong anymore. Because you're not supposed to belong to this old world. You're here to build a new one, and your darkness is the blueprint. Let me ask you something deep, something most people will never dare to ask themselves. What part of yourself have you been most afraid to look at? And what if that part isn't your weakness, but your hidden genius? What if the thing you've been ashamed of your whole life is actually your superpower, just waiting for permission to become sacred? This is the fire of dark power. It doesn't burn you, it burns through you. It clears the clutter. It demands truth. It ignites purpose. And once it's lit, it won't go out. It becomes a beacon. And yes, it will attract darkness, but it will also attract others who carry the same fire. And together, you become unstoppable. And let's talk about that others. Because one of the illusions we must burn down is the myth of spiritual isolation. Yes, the path begins alone. Yes, the shadow work feels solitary. But you are not meant to walk forever in solitude. Once your fire is stable, you begin to find others. Not surface-level connections, not spiritual performance. Real ones. People who've walked through the same darkness. People who've lost everything they thought they were and found something more eternal. These are your soul allies. And when dark power rises in community, it becomes a revolution of consciousness, a reclamation of sacred wildness, a movement of souls no longer apologizing for their truth. One of the deepest signs your dark power is rising is that you start to see through things. You no longer buy into the illusions. You question systems. You unlearn conditioning. You stop needing approval. And in that clarity, you begin to create, not copy, not conform, create. This is where the divine marriage happens. Your inner rebel meets your inner priest. Your chaos meets your clarity. And suddenly your life becomes art. Your pain becomes poetry. Your voice becomes a weapon of light. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you've always been. And that version of you, the real you, is the most dangerous and divine force on this planet. Because you cannot be controlled. And when you cannot be controlled, you become a mirror for others to rise. There's something else you need to know. As your dark power rises, it will challenge your beliefs about what it means to be spiritual. You may start to feel disconnected from dogma, from rigid teachings, from soft light and love narratives. You may find yourself drawn to raw, primal expressions of the divine rituals, drums, fire, breath, movement. That's not regression. That's returning to the earth, to the body, to the sacred feminine, to the ancestors. True spirituality isn't about ascending away from the world, it's about descending into it with clarity, purpose, and power. It's about bringing the divine into the flesh. That's what your shadow has been trying to teach you all along. You are not broken. You are becoming. So what do you do with all this? You integrate. You create rituals. You speak the truth. You write, move, pray, scream, breathe. You stop waiting. You take the risk. You leave the job. You start the project. You forgive your past. You confront the lie. You trust the fire. You say yes to the thing that scares you. And you stop apologizing for being different. Because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more real ones. And your dark power, when claimed with integrity, becomes your medicine. Not just for you, but for everyone who touches your energy. And let me tell you something I've learned from both spiritual practice and from the wild world of experimentation like Miss Beast. Transformation requires extremes. You've got to be willing to go to the edge, to give up what's safe for what's sacred, to step into the unknown and trust that wings will grow on the way down. That's what I did. That's what awakened souls do. We stop waiting for the right time. We become the right time. And when we do, the universe responds not with comfort, but with clarity. You start meeting people who reflect your new frequency. You start attracting opportunities that align with your soul. And life stops being a struggle. It becomes a dance. A sacred, terrifying, beautiful dance between shadow and light. So I ask you now, as your fire burns brighter and your purpose begins to whisper through the smoke, what would you do if you stopped pretending to be small? What would you create if you stopped fearing your own power? Who would you become if you dared to be fully seen? Because that's what this is all about. Not just awakening, but embodying. Not just healing, but leading. Not just surviving, but creating. Your dark power is not a glitch in your soul. It's the divine code you came here to activate. And once you do, nothing will ever be the same. The final initiation, choosing divinity over fear when your shadow fully awakens. What it demands more than anything is your choice. Not just any choice. The final initiation, will you choose fear or divinity? Because by now you've walked through the patterns. You've felt the discomfort, the isolation, the rage, the sacred chaos. You've burned through illusion. You've glimpsed your purpose. And now the fire is no longer flickering, it's roaring. It wants to consume everything that is not aligned with your soul. And this is where most people turn back. They reach the edge of transformation, and they run back to comfort, to control, to the familiar pain. Because it's easier to stay numb than to become divine. But you wouldn't be here if you were meant to go back. You're here because the final gate is opening, and the only way through is truth. At this point in your awakening, you'll notice something terrifying and beautiful. You have no excuses left. You can no longer pretend you don't know. You can no longer blame the world, your parents, the system. You see through it all now. You see that the world is a mirror, that your triggers are your teachers, that your pain is your portal. And now, the mirror turns inward. You are faced with the sacred question, who are you when no one's watching? Who are you without the masks, the validation, the titles? When you answer that not with words, but with embodiment, you become unstoppable. Because you no longer need anything outside of you to be whole. You realize the divine wasn't hiding in the sky or in a book. It was always in you. In your breath, in your wounds, in your fire. But here's the truth most people avoid. Claiming your divinity doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you stop letting fear make your decisions. It means you feel it, honor it, and move anyway. That's power. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you are reborn. Every time you speak what others are afraid to say, you become a portal. Every time you trust your gut over the crowd, you become the revolution. And that's what dark power does. It makes you a living prayer. Not the soft, whispered kind, the kind that screams, the kind that dances, the kind that breaks chains just by breathing. You become a reminder to everyone around you of what is possible when the soul is free. Let's talk about fear. Not the kind that keeps you safe, but the kind that keeps you small. That fear is the gatekeeper of your highest potential, and it will show up strongest right before your biggest leap. You'll doubt yourself. You'll feel like everything is falling apart. You'll want to run. But here's the secret. That's the sign you're close. That's the sign you're passing through the final veil. And if you can just breathe through it, feel it without identifying with it, you will see what's on the other side: freedom. Not the kind the world sells you. The kind that can't be taken from you. The kind that makes you magnetic, unshakable, divine. So I ask you, what fear are you ready to stop bowing to? Here's what happens when you choose divinity over fear. Your energy changes. People feel you before you speak. You walk into a room and shift the entire frequency. You become medicine just by existing. And the most powerful part, you stop trying. You stop performing. You stop chasing. You just are. And that being is enough to change lives. Because authenticity is the highest frequency. And when your shadow is integrated, not hidden, it becomes your aura. Your past becomes your power. Your pain becomes your path. Your story becomes your staff. And you walk like a priestess, like a warrior, like a wild force of nature that no one can tame. But don't be surprised when the world resists, when people fall away, when systems push back. That's part of the initiation. You're not here to be accepted. You're here to be true, and truth is disruptive. It shakes the foundations. It makes people uncomfortable, but it also sets them free. And when you live that truth fully, you become a lighthouse for others still lost in their shadow. That's the final pattern service. Not service from guilt or martyrdom, service from overflow, from embodiment, green from the fire that now dances through your cells. You stop needing to be spiritual, you become spirit in motion. You become the storm and the stillness, the blade and the balm, the question and the answer. And let me be real, you will still fall. You will still doubt. You will still ache, but you will no longer abandon yourself. That's the difference. You'll fall, but you'll rise faster. You'll doubt, but you'll remember deeper. You'll ache, but you'll know it's not the end, it's the alchemy. And that knowing makes you invincible, because now every moment becomes sacred. Every emotion becomes a teacher. Every challenge becomes a doorway. There is nothing left to fear, because everything becomes part of the path. Even your darkness, especially your darkness. So what now? Now, you walk, you lead, you share, you create, you love, you speak, you rest, you burn, you live, fully, fiercely, freely. You let the shadow dance with the light. You let the fire guide you home. And you become the living embodiment of a truth the world has forgotten. That divinity was never about perfection. It was about wholeness. And wholeness includes everything: the joy and the grief, the rage and the grace, the sacred and the shadow. I want you to sit with this. What if your entire life has been preparing you to become a vessel for truth that cannot be silenced? What if every wound, every failure, every heartbreak was shaping the exact voice the world needs now? What if your darkness is not a flaw, but a feature and encoded divine signal that, when activated, unlocks your highest purpose? This is not New Age fluff. This is ancient, blood-deep, soul-level wisdom. This is the kind of initiation that used to happen in temples, in caves, under stars. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be. And if you've made it here through the rage, the grief, the solitude, the fire, then you are ready. Ready to lead, ready to love, ready to live as the whole, wild, unapologetic soul you were born to be.